Aakansh Yerpude. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a Nashville Health intern. I love the interns. I've loved the work that you've been doing along your cohort colleagues as far as interns are concerned. And so I'm looking forward to talking to you today just about some things that are related to you, your career in Nashville Health. So first thing would be, what is the school you go to, your year, your major, and your hometown?
Yeah, for sure. It's great to be here. It's great to be here this summer. I go to Princeton University. I'm a rising senior, and I'm studying economics and getting a minor in global health and health policy. And originally, I am from Georgia. I grew up there since first grade.
All right, good deal. Well, welcome to Tennessee. I know you've had some good experiences in Tennessee and Nashville since you've been here. Probably done more things in 2 weeks than most Tennesseans do here in 2 weeks. Been in
Absolutely.
Chattanooga, some other things. So the question that I have for you now is, right now, we know this can change. What is your preferred career path at this moment?
I know I want to do something in healthcare, and part of this internship and part of the reason why I'm happy to be here is because I'm getting exposed to so many different facets of healthcare because it's such a broad field, right? Like you could be doing community-based work, you could be doing work on like healthcare access, you could be working on like the operation side of things. So I'm still trying to figure that out right now, but I know that I see myself somewhere within the healthcare life sciences space. It's also been great to learn more about healthcare venture capital through First Cressy Ventures. And that's something that is pretty interesting to me right now because I get the chance to look at so many different cool things that are being created and the ways that healthcare is being transformed. So still figuring that out, but just want to be in a space within healthcare where I'm learning a lot and getting exposed to lots of different challenges. I find it interesting to see how all these things fit together in the puzzle that is healthcare.
Well, I'm glad you're doing that. This is a great space to do that. I think talking to Lydia the other day,
Yeah.
and I'm sure she was sharing with you some stuff from the venture capital space in terms of what's happening around here. So I'm glad that you're getting that exposure. That's really good. So as it relates to Nashville Health, we teach you all these things that are called Nashville Health maxims. The reason we repeat them to ourselves is because when we're problem solving or coalition building or looking at data, or we run into a process that has a obstacle in it, the maxims kind of help us with these are things that are generally true all the time. That if you fall back on them, they'll help light the pathway for where you need to go next. So we try to teach them to you all earlier than we learned them so that when you go through your career and the rest of your schooling, you feel like, all right, I got a little bit of a leg up on this. These are things that are generally true most of the time. As far as the Nashville Health maxims, are there any that have stuck out to you? Can you name me one and why it stuck out to you?
There's two that were really interesting to me, but I'll save one of them for the youth concerns one.
Okay.
So the one that I think really stands out the most to me is the turbulence is the price of flying high. I think it's been not like an explicit guiding principle, but it's been something that I've been thinking about as I take on new roles at Princeton, as I challenge myself with new classes at university, and I put myself in uncomfortable situations just to make myself grow, right? Like I had always had this interest in making myself grow, whatever that would have looked like. But there are often times where things get hard, where there's obstacles, where I get slowed down in the progress of doing certain things, or I get demotivated because things didn't turn out how I wanted it to. But I think this maxim really centers that and grounds it in the fact that that is the path. Like these obstacles and these difficult sort of situations that I'm in and these uncomfortable feelings that I'm getting from, you know, doing this incredible work in XYZ situations or getting exposed to certain things here and there. That is the path itself. That uncomfortableness is a mark of growing. So I think that maxim is really helpful in like grounding myself and in doing difficult things and understanding that also if it was easy, a lot of people would be doing it. And it just helps me feel a little more motivated in taking on challenges and seeing everything through a new perspective.
So, Conch, that's one of my favorites. Okay. That one's been around a while and we just repeat it a lot. But the reason it's one of my favorite, to your point about turbulence being the price of flying high, like anytime you're in a plane, the pilot and the plane is solving the problem of moving at 400 or 500 miles per hour at 35,000 feet. The turbulence you feel is the plane and the pilot solving that problem in real time. But for the pilot, that's a dream come true, to be in the air, shepherding people through this journey. And the same is true if you want to do anything that's leadership related in healthcare or leadership related in anything. It can be in politics, is you have to remember that the bumps that you feel are the bumps that you ask for. Because if you don't do that, you won't be able to center yourself and say, this is what I asked for. It's my job to weather this and make sure that we get where we're going. And you have to do that for yourself first so you can do it for others. So I really appreciate the way you situated that. And I'm glad that one spoke to you. So the next question would be, what resonated with you about the top 5 youth concerns? Like anything in the youth concerns of your generation that resonated with you when you learned them?
Do you mean in the sense like I had felt these myself or something I really
Yeah,
felt?
in any
Okay.
sense, like, did anything, was it surprising to you?
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
or did it kind of align with you to what you already thought?
Yeah. I actually think that you guys had come up with the different 5 areas
Yeah,
pretty well. And when I was thinking about and doing some research on each of the areas, I started to realize how all of these pile up on each other. And we don't even realize it, but it just becomes this sort of like weight, which I talked about in my presentation as well. But a lot of these things are things that my generation is dealing with and is seeing. But because of this like fast-paced world that we're in, but then also this expectation to keep on going and keep on acting as if things are sort of normal and then you'll just figure it out. I think we forget to recognize that a lot of these things are going on.
yeah,
So for me, it was a little bit surprising because I recognize that these are tremendous challenges and things that are very anxiety inducing for my generation and for myself as well. I just don't give it that time of day to really think about it. So I think it really was shocking in that sense, but it also just puts things in perspective on why my generation is feeling burnt out on certain things or why we have this sense of like we need to do something to create a more secure future. We need to do something that really gives us the opportunities to work on some of these issues because they do pile up on each other and create this sense of like doom.
yeah.
Um, not to end on a
Yeah,
negative note,
no,
but
that's not negative at all.
yeah,
That's real.
yeah.
And what I heard from that, and I'm going to ask you this, but I'm going to ask you, what do you think I'm learning from you? But I can tell you right now, what I'm learning from you is something that I hadn't thought about at all until you just put it in that way, which is your generation is dealing with a range of different issues all the time that are affecting you every day, but you don't feel like you have the time to spend to actually engage the issues because you have the pressure to keep moving forward because of how fast paced life has become. That's a learning for me. I never thought about that. You got issues that you know are there, but you don't have the time because you feel like you got to move on from them to do your thing. And that's not really a fair position to put your generation in. But I do think that your generation will have a unique way of being able to work through that and express it because y'all are experiencing it in a different way than other generations have. Somewhere within what you express, there's a solution to it. We just got to work together to find it. And as much as Nashville Health uses well-being and mental well-being and physical well-being to work through that, we are an appropriate place for you to express something like that. So I think that was really thoughtful the way you put it. Okay. So when you're with Nashville Health, one of the first things I told you in your first one-on-one with me as an intern was, I'm not worried about your capability, your competency, your cognitive ability to do any of the work or any of the projects we're doing. And it's just as well as I said that, you kind of blew us away with something you did, with some Matthew Walker partnership things, maybe a week or two late. Like I wasn't worried about that. When you're with me, I'm always talking to each of you as interns about, I need for you to bring the creative you, the unique Aakansh gifts you to everything that we put before you. And I need for you to find that person in every project. The project may be prescriptive, but when I look at the project, I should feel like Akansh's gifts and creativity and unique self is in this project. Why do you think I'm so after that when it relates to your portion of your internship spending with me?
Well, I think it's It's so important for not just myself, but for anyone and for people in my generation and people that are building their careers to really find what their gifts are and how they can utilize them in various spaces. And I think the best part of what you've been trying to do with the interns in Nashville Health is really honing in on these things and asking us to reflect on what we might be able to bring to the table and how we can bring that to not just this table, but many other tables. One of the things that I've learned from speaking to people that are farther along in their careers is one of the pieces of advice they give me is to find something that really makes me unique and find something that A, I'm either passionate about or B, have a talent for. And that will be a guiding factor in figuring out the places that I'm able to make the most impact in and also the places where I'm able to apply myself the most. I guess to summarize, I think the importance of what you've been doing in helping us like bring ourselves to these tables is on a very, like, macro career and, like, personal development level. I think it'll help us make decisions in our careers and make, like, job transition job transitions and these choices and what spaces we choose to find ourselves in and help us make the most impact in them. And I think having that awareness of what fruits that we have and what talents that we are given and can work on, I think that will help us become a lot more successful and create a bigger impact wherever we go.
A contest really good. It's you have to chase yourself at the same time as you chase the goal that somebody else gave you, and you have to kind of put those things together because if you do that, you might be able to unlock your own creativity. And the most creative you is the most unique you, and in the end, it's what's going to make you stand out. And it's really important in a field like public health, or a field like community health, or a field like healthcare for you to feel like you're doing that because there's so many boundaries and so many, technical principles in what you need to do that you don't need to lose your creativity in the middle of doing all of that because somewhere between the two is a unique and powerful you as far as press forward in your career. So I think that's great that you have your arms kind of wrapped around some of that already. And I also think it's great that you're paying attention to those things as you go forward when you talk to people. So I asked you this question maybe in the second meeting we had because it kind of gives me a little bit of an insight into where you think you're going or where you may want to go. And I say that because, as you know, at your age, those things can change and should. But if you're 75 years old and you're talking to someone 2 or 3 generations below you, and you had to tell them the story of your accomplishments and the things that you did in your career in life, what would that story sound like?
Leadership maxim that relates most to, I think, my answer of what I want to look back and be proud of or tell, my grandkids that I am proud of is all trials and fires are a chance to prove how dedicated we are to something. I think when I think about when I'm 75, I don't see like and I think about these specific accomplishments, I don't think I see specific things about like, oh, I impacted this many people, or I created this program, or this thing is better because I was there, or I was able to do X, Y, Z thing. But more so, just the principle of being dedicated to the people that I know don't have the same privileges that I do, and I think a part of that is intertwined with my interest in healthcare because it's like I'm seeing that some people are accessing care and it's working out for them, but then other people aren't receiving the same type of care or aren't having the same opportunities to live a well and a flourishing life. And I think that when I enter these spaces within healthcare and I'm able to make these decisions that impact people, I want to make sure that I'm grounded in the privileges and the reality that I have to be sitting at these tables within, and I want to ground myself within the people that I'm trying to serve. And so when I think I'm 70, when I get to 75 and I'm telling people about what I'm proud of, I think I want to be proud of this dedication that within all these trials and fires, within the difficult conversations it will inevitably take to create changes in communities where, you know, they're under resourced or underprivileged, because it will definitely be a tough path with many, many obstacles. But I think that that is exactly the opportunity, as the maxim says, to show how dedicated I am to, making a better space and understanding the privilege that I have and putting it to good use.
Aakansh, that is a very wise answer. like a seriously wise answer, and it's an answer that will work for you 10 years from now, 30 years from now, 50 years from now, until you are that age. And what I kind of hear from you is two things. There's a humility of leadership of saying, I don't, it's not that I deserve to be here, but I am here. So if I am here, let me figure out how to make this work for others that are not here. And then the second thing I saw is in relation to another maxim where we've said, if you love results more than you love process, the results will divorce you.
Mhm.
So the journey, the dedication you're talking about, journey is a process, dedication is a process. And you're finding more value in the journey, in the process, than you are finding in the results, which would be the accomplishments in your answer. And that is another thing that will serve you well 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 50 years from now. So the fact that you've already come to that conclusion or come to that perspective is really impressive. The last question, do you think your time with Nashville Health is going to hear, and I'm kind of asking you a loaded question because you're at Nashville Health and here I am leading and asking this question. But do you feel like your time with Nashville Health will help you to get to that accomplished 75-year-old Aakansh?
Absolutely. I don't think it's even a question because I think one of the most fruitful parts of this internship has been working with the different partners that we work with on some of these projects and realizing the different choices that they make, the different opportunities that they see for wellness and the different things that they're doing within the community. I think it's been really eye opening just to see the ways that different partners are working within these communities and within these environments. And I think it all just reminds me of like the way that I'm sort of like thinking as I say it. It's a testament to how you really have to understand communities before you can even think about serving them. And I think that the work that National Health does and the work that the partners do is an exemplar of that because we are in these communities, we are really trying to understand them before we're creating like these tailored interventions that can work on bringing them more opportunities to thrive in Nashville. And I think the key takeaways that I'm taking from all of this is that it's not easy work, but that doesn't mean that it's any if anything, that means it's more meaningful. And I think that it reminds me a lot of the challenges that my generation is facing as well. Like there's so much that's going on, these 5 focus areas. But I think I see that as an opportunity to do more work rather than you know, a scientist sort of step away from it.
Yeah.
So I think that like overall, I think that natural health has done some really challenging work and also work that isn't easy. But I think that, and this relates to the leadership maxims that I think I'm that resonate with me the most. I think that's where you find the most like fruitful outcomes and where you're really learning and testing your dedication to making a better future for people around you.
Great answer. And the one of the last things I want to ask you is, obviously people take internships and students take them to learn things from people. But what do you think I'm learning from you and from your fellow interns, while y'all are here?
I think one of probably one of the biggest things that you're learning is the perspective that we have on some of these issues. And when I say perspective, I mean a lot of the optimism, I think, and the hopefulness that comes with our generation that at least I have seen or I've seen a lack of in the people that are in these positions of power and have the opportunities to change the systems and the structures that my generation is seeing as problems. And I think a part of that perspective is the creativity amongst like this is what we've seen in our 5, 6, 7 years of being like a functioning adult that understands the world around us, and here's what we're able to come up with and here's what we think works for us and might work for more people. So I think that the perspective that we bring is probably something that is is new and I think it'll be able to be integrated with the experience that you guys have in working in these fields, whether it's like social work or just like healthcare access in general. I think combining our fresh perspective on some of these things that you guys might not have considered or considered but didn't think there's much value to, um, combined with the expertise that you guys have can really help move Nashville Health forward. So I think that that's probably what we're bringing to you.
That's spot on. Y'all are bringing a new perspective, which older folks always need to make sure they're taking in your perspective. It's a two-way street. It's not a one-way street. You learn from me, I learn from you. This is the final question. Is there anything that you would want other generations to know about your generation?
I think the most common misconception or like misunderstanding that my generation gets is that we haven't thought about things a lot, or that we're just emotional and we're just entering the world. We don't know what's happening. Like we don't know the work that is being done, or we don't know how things work, or how slow progress is to happen. And I think that it's a perspective and a misunderstanding that really fails to respect the different lived experiences of my generation and the way that we are seeing the world. Because I think when you sort of dumb our perspectives down to like you've only been like a real adult for a couple of years, you don't know what's going on, you don't know how things work. I think that can really be disheartening for a lot of people in my generation when it comes to how passionate we are about making change. And I would really hope that other generations can understand that we've done a lot of research, we have a lot of motivation, because we're just starting our lives in a very broad sense, right? And we have the motivation and the optimism to know that there is something better, and we're willing to do something even if it's a hard problem, because as we're starting our lives, we want to make sure that for our generation, as we go, and enter our 40s, 50s, 60s, and then also for the generations ahead of us, we know that there is something that must be done. So yeah, I think that taking our concerns more seriously and understanding that our perspective has value because it's real and is lived, can really help create that partnership and help us move forward for our generation and also the ones to come.
Well, Kosh, with that answer, if people can't find value in your generation's perspective, they're probably really, really lost, because I found a lot of value in just you saying it. And I appreciate you sharing that with me. Kosh, it's been great.
Thank you. Yeah.